we're not dealing with the remote. We can reuse basically our meters that are relatively new. There's only a handful of them that are, relatively new. So that is, that's one item. The other item is something which is road related, and that is the, over at High Ridge, everybody knows at High Ridge, that hill there, we are raising the road 5 feet. So the road's coming up 5 feet in elevation. The lift station there that we have is, I should have taken a picture of it, but what that lift station is right now is it's about 3 feet below grade. It's got a concrete wall built around it for the road, and it's 3 feet below grade. Well, at that road.
Current road.
The current road.
Yeah.
So where the lift station is, the road's going to come up about 2 feet. Now, the problem is that that lift station lid right now, where it's located, is about 3 feet off of pavement. It's right next to the street. So option A is spend about $150,000 and relocate the lift station, build a new one. Option B is something we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Option B is that lift station is over 40 years old, and the concrete inside of it is deteriorating. It's already sloughing off. The bottom has already it's leaching out through the bottom. So we know we need to rehab that lift station. That day is coming. So we can kill 2 birds with 1 stone. What we do is they make a fiberglass liner that slides in there. That lift station is a 6-foot diameter. So they make like a 3-inch liner. You slide inside and sleeve it. And then you reconnect all the pipes. You just sleeve it in. The advantage we have is we can get that sleeve and put it in, but we extend it about 4 feet, the top, and then we backfill it. So we bring the lift station up to ground level where it is. So we don't have to rebuild it.
How long does the sleeve prolong its life?
At least, the hope is like 40 to 50 years. So, until you're mayor.
Oh,
okay. Okay. Until your children are mayor. Okay. So it basically accomplishes what we need to do, and then we put the lid on it, and what will probably end up being there will probably be a guardrail. Just keep you from driving on it, the lid, but it'll be at grade, because we have to raise it to grade anyway. So I think that's the way to go. And at that point, we will be able to then solve the 2 problems we have. The other issue as part of this is
the cost of that.
I believe it's about $40,000. Because here's the other issue that I've said this before. Sometimes we inherit a problem.
You said 40?
About 40, yeah. The scope has changed. I'm learning more, and we're cammering more. I'm learning more. So one of the...
You have here 25.
Right, I think it needs to be 40 now. And the reason why is because in doing our analysis of this, when we go out and fix stuff, sometimes we have to fix things that we didn't create. And we're the guys that get stuck fixing it. So we've done a lot of those repairs at the sewer plant where we've had to replumb it and do things where what seemed to be good engineering 30 years ago now is not good engineering now. So one of the problems with that lift station is that it's too shallow. They should have made it deeper. Okay? So what happens is that, and it's easier for me to explain it with this. So down at the bottom of the lift station is a pump. And when the pump turns on, it pumps it down, it pumps it under pressure, and it goes to the sewer plant. Okay? So the inputs to that lift station are the other lift station down at Cary and at Stowe. They pump lift station. Well, where are those pipes that go into this lift station? They put them down here. They're at the bottom. They're filling down the bottom. Well, if this was full of waste, and the waste is up here, the waste is still in the pipe. It's stuck in the pipe.
Start pumping until it goes over those pipes.
So when the pump turns on, it pumps it down to the bottom, and only then do these pipes now release, because there's nowhere for them to go. Well, once they release, it fills up and the pump cycles again. So the pump this fill is lower. This fill is lower down than it should be because they knew these were holding. So imagine if it was up here, these pipes could fill up. So it's having to turn the pumps on and pump it down when it gets down to down to here. So we've got a 20-foot tall lift station that we're using 4 feet of it. So that makes the pumps cycle quickly, which eats the pumps up sooner, is highly inefficient. So one of the things that we're going to do with this fix is we can't punch a hole in the bottom of the lift station. It's concrete, and there's no way to climb. So we're going to put it back, but one of the things that we have at our advantage is the reason why it's down here so low is because the road went away. Well, now when we add 5 feet of earth back there, those pipes don't have to dive to match the hill. They can stay up higher. So if we go back and tear out this pipe, we can reset it because we now have a bunch of earth. It'll still be below ground. Does that make sense? They had to dive it because the hill went away. They had to keep it underground. So we're going to tear this pipe out going backwards, and then we relay it as a normal gravity line, and it'll hit up here now. That's why it's 40,000. You understand? We're not going to go back 200 feet. We're going to go back maybe 50 or 60 feet, and we literally can tear that pipe out, mate up with it, and set it back now at this angle, because the earth is now there.
Yeah.
Does it matter the road project at all? Does it have to be done before then, or why is it
It has to be done after the road because we need the earth to be there. Like, we're going to relay the new sewer line inside of the new 5 feet of filter. Okay, so it has to be done then.
It has to be done at the same time.
Once the roads are in, when that's in. Because the other issue is, it's something you guys, I know you don't think about it, but we got to keep it live. So you got to put it on you got to keep it like on bypass. So upstream, we have to tell everybody stop using water best you can, and we got to pump the manhole out, and all the lift stations have to be empty. And then we got to disable them. Well, they can run in because they got to reconnect all the pipes. So they can't be working in the hole with the lift station pumping in the hole. And the gravity lines that we're destroying, we can't just destroy them and let it run on the ground. So we got to go back to the manholes on each end and put pumps in there and pump it through hoses on the ground to a back truck. In other words, it's a complicated operation to keep the sewer operating. You can't dump it on the ground.
What's that timetable?
So that part of the roads is like the third part, so that's probably 2 months away.
No, I'm talking about the overall. When you get it down,
It'll be 1 day.
just a 1 day.
It'll be a 1 day thing. It'll be like 7 o'clock in the morning. Boom. We're not leaving until we finish it that day. Yeah.
And we've made adjustments to the other lift stations. This is the one we haven't touched recently. Right? The one on Harry has been worked out, the one on Stone.
They're all good, yes.
So this is the last one, right?
And it's funny, I can tell you back in 2006, before I was on council, the mayor at the time was Paul Bowers. Paul actually took me to that lift station and said, look, it's leaning. This lift station needs to be fixed. We need to replace this lift station like now. And I didn't think a leaning lift station was a reason to replace it. I don't think the And where we're at, we'll clean it up, we'll clean up the area, we'll take the panel box that's there and we'll kind of turn it, we'll actually remount it on a smaller pedestal. We'll make that a little bit more aesthetically pleasing while we're there. But those are the two projects that I think we can knock that off next year, and we'll be in good shape. Okay. And I'm going to change that number to 45. So I don't know if you can see it. It got kind of cut off there, but in the numbers, it was 25. I'm going to make that 45 because that number originally was just for the insert. It was just dropping the insert and calling it a day. So that means in that budget line up here where this says the capital expenditures for sewer are 25 on this line here, that 25 is going to become a 45. So I will make that adjustment in the spreadsheet for the final ordinance. Okay? Okay. So that's the budget. Now, I'm going to talk to you in a couple minutes about the water and sewer rates. If we decide to change them like I'm proposing, we don't need to change these numbers because that'll make the numbers higher. Okay? So we can adopt this now, and these numbers I think are good numbers. And then everybody understand what I'm saying? Yes. We don't need to revisit this if we decide to change the water sewer rates. We'll just make that change and we'll have a positive budget variance next year. Now, I didn't change any of the other numbers other than updating the year-to-date numbers. I don't know if anybody has any questions. I haven't tried to change anything on you. I don't know why that number at the bottom is highlighted. I forget. Everybody has seen this. I think we've talked about it a lot. I think all the numbers are good. I don't see anything that's, even with, if we based on these things we have going right now, even with that $25,000 more in capital outlay, this budget shows we'll still have a $40,000 cash flow in the utility fund. We'll still be okay. Okay? Eric, you have any questions for me? Okay. Anybody? We talked about it, I think, a lot. Okay?
Well, I make a motion that we adopt the budget for the fiscal year 2021.
Now, Lynn, is this a roll call?
Yeah.
No? Okay. Okay. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the 2021 budget, second by Serena. All those in favor? Thank you. All right, budget is done. Thank you, guys. Thank you very much. Next up is Linda, was the tax rate stuff in there? Remember the NNR rates and all that stuff? Remember? Is that in somewhere?
I honestly don't remember it. I don't think it's a public hearing, but
Okay, well let me, I thought you, anyway, okay, I know it's got to be there for next one. Well, why is this in here, Linda? You see what the screen is?
Yes.
Record vote to consider adoption of budget.
Okay, you're right, it's a roll call.
Okay, so it is a roll call vote.
I was looking for that,
Well, the
document.
effective tax rate and all those.
Yeah, I was pulling that.
Okay.
Sorry, I got sidetracked. Let's go back and read it was unanimous.
Buckley.
Second by... Okay. Chairperson Love.
Yes.
Councilman Bishop.
Yes.
Councilman Torres.
Yes.
Councilwoman Leslie. Yes. Councilman Bissonnette.
Yes. Did you say Councilwoman Bissonnette?
Yes.
The co-worst.
Did I?
Councilwoman Bissonnette?
I
Jeez.
apologize.
Oh, man. Wow.
Councilman Bissonnette.
Okay. It's still yes.
Well, let me consult my wife. Rodrigo.
So,
I can, if you want to give me the table, or do you want me to email it to you?
no, don't worry about it. We'll talk about it next. We'll talk about it next time. But I want everybody to understand. So, in the legislature in 19, they passed a whole bunch of new things on the tax code about property tax, right? That the cap is so basically for most cities, if your taxes go up by 3.5%, if it's more than 3.5%, the citizens you have to have an election. The citizens have to vote in November to approve that it's more than 3.5%. And if they vote no, then you got to roll it back to 3.5%. So that was what they passed. Obviously, the cities didn't like it. So for us, we're a small city. We have slightly different rules. For us, if it's more than 3.5, we're okay. If it's more than 3.5, our citizens could petition us to roll it back. It's more than 3.5. We don't have to have an election, though. We only have to have an election if our tax rate exceeds basically 90 cents. So, as long as we don't triple it, we don't have to have an election. So for small cities, they have different rules. And so for us, the de minimis tax rate that you see on that 91 cents, that's the number that if we got our tax rate over that, we'd have a mandatory election. Okay? So we're obviously nowhere near that. Now, the tax rate that we are proposing is 45 cents, 25 cents of M&O, and 20 cents of the debt service, the debt rate. What's interesting for us is that the 3.5% increase that you get to have, our rate, our tax number based on DCAD is actually negative. Because of all the appeals, when they calculated our tax rate for this year for us, the exact same people using our 25-cent operating tax rate are actually paying about 1% less than they were last year. So our appraised tax roll a year ago was $107 million. This year, it's $106 million. So we didn't raise it by 3.5%. We actually reduced it by about 1%. Now, under the tax code, what that means is we get to bank that. So if you're less than 3.5%, increase on your citizens, you can bank the unused amount and use it in another year. So we basically have 1.07 cents banked. Okay? So that means that the number that we have to exceed before the citizens can ask us to roll it back, for us, is going to be much higher. So that's kind of what this is. So for instance, if Lakewood Village, let's just say that the appraisal district raised, on average, our appraisals by 5%. in the city. Then if we were Little Elm, they have to drop their tax rate. Because if they just left it where it was, they get 5% more money. Well, if they do that, they have to have a mandatory election because they're a big city. So they would have to drop their tax rate or risk an election. For us, we're not in that boat. And in fact, we not only didn't come close to the 3.5, we're actually below that. So we're in really good shape on our tax rate. Really, really, really good shape. So in this town, we will never be subject to an election. We will never, ever, ever reach the point where our tax rate is so high, we're going to ever have to have an election. I expect that in the future it to start dropping. But we're probably in the top 1% of cities in Texas that have actually lower taxes this year than last year. That just doesn't happen. Well, it happened here. And we're not going to change the tax rate to try and get it back. Okay? So, anyway, that's what that was. Next meeting, we adopt the actual tax rate. Okay? All right. Next up on the agenda then is consideration of consolidated fee ordinance regarding tap fees and utility rates. So I sent everybody a memo that everybody should have seen regarding our tap fees. So what tap fees are, like it says, is that's us recovering the cost of our infrastructure. You want to join our sewer, tie into our sewer system, you have to pay us your share of the cost of putting in all the lines and the sewer plant itself and things we've done to it. Okay? Every city has tap fees. That's, it's done on a per house basis. Every time you build a house, you got to pay to join the system. Impact fees are the cost for us to put up a new water tower and put in a new well. It's to expand the facilities because of your new development. That's different than recovering the cost of the facilities to begin with. Okay? Our tap fees, we last changed them in 2014. I think, Clint, you had maybe just come on board, was when we did those. And they were pretty much in line with, I think we ended up moving them up to match Little Elm. Yeah.
We just matched Little Elm.
We knew that we didn't want to go through an in-depth analysis. We knew they exceeded Little Elm because we're smaller. We don't have economies of scale. So since we made that move, what I did is I went back and calculated what's all of our water and sewer CapEx that we've spent. New lines, new pumps, like the new water tower out here. What are all the things that we put in the system, CapEx-wise, not repairs? And then what you do is you take that number and then you divide it by the total number of people that are going to connect, not just the new guys. So every one of us at this table is getting the benefit of the new water tower. It's the benefit of the whole town. So we have to take that cost and spread it out over the whole town. So at the end of the day, what this ends up doing, if you do the math and everything, would be our new tap fees would be $2,015.50. That would be the new calculation. It's been 6 years. I try and go through the fees at least every 5 years to update them. I think the reason why I didn't do it last year was I think we were busy with the roads. We were, planning all the road stuff, trying to get the road financing squared away. But I think now with development, obviously on our doorstep, it's incumbent upon us to get the right numbers. As you can see, relative to the other cities around us, if you were to make any comment, you'd say we were low. Okay? Now, that doesn't matter. We have to recover our costs, whatever they are, but just kind of as a back-of-the-envelope sanity check, I think we're good. We're not $12,000 and everybody else is too, right? So I think it's very reasonable, our numbers. I don't think any developer anywhere would have any problems with it. No one's going to challenge those numbers, in other words. And the numbers are good. I did them. And those are from the audited financial statements. So they're audited numbers, too. So anyway, I think that we should adopt these impact fees. Does anybody have any questions? item. So what we have to do is we have to approve the new fees because ultimately we're amending the fee ordinance, which is where all the fees are located. Right? So that's why the fee ordinance is here. So if you adopt these rates, you're adopting a change in the master fee ordinance, okay? So that's why that's there. Now, the other thing I did is I gave everybody, you should have a two-page item like this with a spreadsheet on top. No, I guess it's on one page. So what I did was I went back for our last 3 years, our audited performance, and pulled out the water and sewer revenues and expenses for each thing to see where are we on each item, water, sewer, and garbage. And I pulled that out because we've talked about changing the rates, and it seems like, look, if I was going to be asked to change the rates, I'd like to know where we're at. So you can see all the revenues there. The expenses for everything are in there. We track a lot of the expenses individually. That's one of the things we do in our accounting. That's why we have so many lines. There's a couple things like the operator, we just allocated it. We just split it evenly because the operator does the water and the sewer. But to the best extent possible, we track everything separately just so I can do this P&L and see exactly what's going on. The operating profit and loss here, one of the things in here is it includes the depreciation. So in the long run, in the very, very, very long run, Lakewood Village is a nonprofit. So in the long, long, long run, you would want your water and sewer to basically net out to zero. Now the depreciation is in there, so with that, we're a little bit negative, which is a good sign. It means that we're generating enough for the depreciation on our old stuff. The bad news is the depreciation on the old stuff isn't what the new stuff is going to cost. It's not bad, it's better than nothing, but it's not where we need to be. The reason why the sewer plant is obviously so negative is because it has a lot of capacity. It's a full plant. They built that plant to handle 100,000 gallons of waste, but right now it's only handling about 40. So it's actually an accounting issue. It's what we call a management accounting issue of how do you account for unused capacity. So we have a lot of capacity there that we're paying for that we're not using. But that's why the sewer fund is so negative. You can see that after if you take out the depreciation, what that does is that tells you what your actual cash flow is. So that cash flow line is saying, after you take people paying you, you subtract out all the money you're spending to run it, what do you got left? Well, the sewer fund is barely making positive cash flow. And that's a problem. And I'll tell you why in a minute. So overall, the sewer plant, the cash flow is minus $112,000. It's major negative cash flow. The water system is doing okay on its cash flow. It's positive cash flow. Where's that money going? It's going to the sewer fund to prop up the sewer fund. Okay. And garbage is nominally positive, which is for two reasons. One is because right now, we don't like changing the rates every year, so we just pick a number, and we basically are high in the first couple of years, and then we're low in the next couple, because we average it out across the 5 years. So we're running a slightly positive on the garbage, which is fine. So at the end of the day, this cash flow of our utilities for 3 years, it's about $54,000, which tracks almost to the button our actual bank account. You don't have to worry about it. That's just reconciliations are down at the bottom. That's tracking me in the bank accounts that we have to see if it matches. Okay, so looking ahead, here's the issue that we face. Down at the sewer plant, so everybody plant, there's a huge lift station there. Because it's got to pick it up and put it in the top of the plant. It's got to pump it into the sewer plant. Because everything over here is gravity. So it's 15 feet deep when it gets to the plant itself. It's 15 feet underground. So we got to lift it up and dump it into the plant. The other part of town has a lift station. The lift station we just talked about, a high ridge, it pumps it under pressure all the way to the sewer plant and drops it in the top. It actually goes directly into the digester. So we're good there. Land plan and all the development, they're going to bring all their waste to Parkwood. And we're going to have to rebuild. Part of the land plan agreement is there's a 15-inch, not 4 inches, 15-inch sewer line, which is going to have to be relayed on Parkwood to carry all the waste from any future development. Everything to the west. They can't go in over here. They're going to go in their own separate line all the way to the sewer plant. It's going to gravity feed. So there won't be a lift station. When it gets to the
14-inch pipe with gravity feed?
15-inch. Yes. It's going to gravity feed all. So if all those woods develop down the road, this line's already in. We're not going to tear up Parkwood again when the next development comes in. All those woods are going to go to one point, and then that's going to gravity feed to the plant. That's the design. Well, when it gets to the plant, down Parkwood, it's got to go to a lift